Hi guys, how are you guys doing? This is the Voice of Kakuma, sponsored by Semabox and the Kakuma Sound. And today is your host Nyamal Nyang, and I'm here with a very, very important guest and also a host of Voice of Kakuma. And I'll just welcome him to introduce himself. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here. It's really awesome to see an idea we've been talking about for years with our friends in Semibox and down in Nairobi, and the fact that they came and we are here is just a great thing.
And your name?
My name is Mark Levine. I am one of the co-founders of Kakuma Sound with trainer Tumwa back in 2019, and we're sitting in our compound, which is something we've been working for years to build, and next to our studio. So a lot of dreams that we had have been fulfilled right where we're sitting in the last couple of years, despite all of the challenges.
That's so inspirational. I'm really touched or inspired by exactly like the Voice of Kakuma coming to life. It's like a dream, a vision you guys once seen, and then it's now coming to life, it's coming to pass. I'm really happy to be here with exactly the founder of Kakuma Sound and also the brain behind the Voice of Kakuma,
Well, the brain is sitting over there. I'm just the one who looks good.
Thank you. Then we'll just go straight to the small questions that are going to be so personal, and then again some of them are going to be general, and we just want to hear your views because I know they're going to be inspirational to some of us and also viewers outside there. So, Mark, what first inspired you to be able to join the founder as the co-founder, and what made you believe that music could transform lives in Kakuma?
Well, Trainer and I came here. Trainer had been here because he had family here, but I came with him. I knew him from Lodwar, from the other end of Turkana. I met him in 2015, and we have been working together for 4 years already, and he had been mentioning this incredible place where you had people from all over Africa living, this camp. And the way he was describing it, he said there were musicians from Uganda and Burundi and Rwanda and Congo and Sudan, Ethiopia, South Sudan, Somalia, etc. And to me, I grew up in New York, and in New York, where I grew up, they had drum circles for people from all over Africa. So you would go to parts of New York and you would have people from Senegal and from Mali and from Nigeria and from Kenya and from all over together making music. So I imagined something very similar to that. And there are similar places in London, in Paris, in many cosmopolitan cities with large African populations. So we came here in 2019 together the first time. And, something else entirely happened, which is that the people who came to meet us, who were excited to meet us, were traditional musicians. But traditional musicians who didn't have access to their instruments, who have been separated from their culture and their music, sometimes for decades, because Kakuma is old. It's been here since 1992. So there are people in the camp, musicians who've been here for 30 years and never touched their instruments from back home. I mean, you can get a guitar or a bass or regular drums at the church, or at a store in town. But to get udungus, to get the Burundian royal drums, to get instruments that are really represent your culture from home, much rarer. And people had to create drums out of oil drums with cow skin, when their real drums were made out of beautiful wood with goat skin or something, So we realized that was something we could probably raise a little money and get some drums for people. That's all we thought. And we had a first meeting and 14 people showed up. And then a couple years later, there were 350 people. And then a couple years later, there were 700 members. And then we had Kakuma Sound branches, 3 in camps in Uganda, in Rwanda, in Tanzania, in Congo. So the idea spread without us doing anything. People heard about it in different camps, probably from refugees in this camp, and said, we want to do that too. So that's how Kakuma Sound spread.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. That's a very
But it was all about the traditional music and the traditional instruments, because everyone does hip-hop, You know, you just need a computer to do hip hop and a microphone. But to do traditional music, you need the drums. You need the instruments made from the wood and the hides from home. You know, you can't just create a fake version here. It's not the same. So we understood if we could get the instruments, we could help people reclaim and conserve their culture, which was being lost when you're stuck in a camp for years and then decades.
Yeah, that's a very strong story and so inspiring. And now to my second question, looking back from everything that you just narrated, I feel like you guys have really come a long way, yeah? And looking back, what have been the most memorable moments since Kakuma Sound was founded?
Well, one of them was definitely coming here 2 days ago. I haven't been here in almost a year. And when I was here last year, we didn't have water yet. We had just the very beginning of some planting, a few watermelons. People were very excited. We didn't have the shade. You know, we didn't have hardly anything. And to show up after almost a year and see how everything's changed. We now have water. We have lots of crops being planted. We have a really functioning community. So that's, without a doubt, the single biggest inspirational thing. The next thing is playing together, bringing Kakuma Sound to Europe, to the Roskilde Festival in 2024. That was an amazing experience to take our story and musicians to Europe. They were so loved. We played in front of 10,000 people. They were so enthusiastic. You know, it really showed that the story and the music has legs. It can go places.
Wow.
So that was the result of a process of going to Uganda, playing at the Nyege Festival in 2023 in November. And, you know, it was a long-term process that we went through to make all this happen. And I think the other really proud moment was probably our first festival. When that finally happened, because it almost didn't happen. It was very windy. We were doing the festival out on the main road, right off the main road. There were all sorts of complications. And right up until the last minute, we didn't know if it would happen. And then the morning came, and people started coming, and before we knew it, it was packed with people, and we had 2 days of music, and everyone was so excited. And that's when we really knew this idea really can work. At the level of the whole camp.
Yeah. Wow. That's bombastic. Like, so, like, in addition to everything you've just told me about Kakuma Sound and all the interesting things that just happened, you guys weren't expecting a lot, and then, but in return, you guys received more than, or you guys seen more than you thought wouldn't happen, yeah? And how has Kakuma Sound changed the life of this specific refugee musicians beyond music itself? How?
That's a great question. You know, music to me as a musician is the soul of life and the soul of a community. You know, without trying to create stereotypes of Africa and music and so on, certainly music is very powerful in a very specific way in African cultures, especially farming cultures, especially cultures in the Great Lakes region where most of the refugees come from, or so many. So music is a really elemental part of life. And when you mix it together with farming, the bond is really tight because people sing when they farm, and they sing about farming, and they sing about their animals. And so now that we have a farm, that people can literally be singing the songs that they were already singing, but they were singing them in the abstract. Because they would do a performance at a festival, and they would sing at the Kakuma Sound Festival. But now they can sing the songs about farming right here while they're farming. So you want to sing about planting crops while you're planting crops. To hear that is a whole other level, because now it's the real deal. It's not a performance, it's life. So I think Kakuma Sound has really helped, and the idea of Kakuma Sound is what made this possible. It's what brought the money in to have the money to create the farm, to create the compound, to afford the seed, to get the water and everything. So that's one thing. The second thing is that Kakuma Sound brings people together from different communities that wouldn't otherwise have come together. And we know this because in Kakuma, for decades, the UNHCR and the Kenyan government tried to keep people separate from different communities because there was violence sometimes, right? People from different tribes who were fighting back home might start fighting here if they were together.
Yeah.
So there was a reason, of course, but it also meant the camp, people didn't know each other. I remember one of our members, our first members from Congo, said, or she was Ugandan or Congolese, I think she was Congolese, she said, you know, I live right there. She had Turkana Cafeteria, right across the way.
Oh.
She lives in that community. She's like, I never met people from Uganda. I never met people from Ethiopia because we were always kept separate. Now, suddenly, with Kakuma Sound, we are all together. Yeah. We are playing each other's music. Yeah. We are getting the same training, but we're also learning about each other's cultures. So now we are creating something that is bigger than ourselves and that shows that we don't have to be kept separate. Because UNHCR spent a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and sometimes violence to keep people apart. But what we have showed is that we can bring people together. And even if they're different, even if they're Christian and Muslim, even if they're Nuer and Dinka, even if they're, Hutu and Tutsi, in this space, they are members of the same community. And they are creating the same music, and they are supporting each other. And this is not me saying it, in hundreds of interviews with people, because we are also doing the research as we do this to make sure it's working. People constantly say how Kakuma Sound has allowed people to create this new sense of community that wasn't there. So that, to me, I think, is very important, because you need community when you're living in such precarious situation as Kakuma, in the desert, a kind of desertifying place. There was very little water. The violence is always right around the corner. We've all seen, when I first came here, there was 160,000 people here. Now there's 300,000. It doubled, more or less, in 6 years. Because the war started again in Sudan, in South Sudan, in Congo, in Ethiopia, in Somalia. So there's always more people coming. So how do you integrate them? How do you create a sense of community? That's what we have been doing. Not because of me at all, because the people in Kakuma Sound figured this out, and they used it to create their sense of community.
Yeah. It's vividly seen that Kakuma Sound, apart from all the visions or all the mission that the organization have, or this crowd have, it's also bringing different communities, which is like strengthening the unity amidst of them. Among those who are not well sitting together, they are now like coming together and being able to live in peace and harmony. That is courtesy of Kakuma Sound, and that's exactly what they're doing, because the agriculture or something, I think that's that is happening here in Kakuma Sound. I think it's bringing different people, like youth, elderly, the
very
host,
important.
Refugees, and that's like the coexistence that they're trying to live together in harmony and trying to bring this mission or the vision that you people having with trainer. So what role do you think music played in preserving culture of refugees and also the host?
Well, you just said two things which are really important to answering that question. First is generations. I remember we were sitting in Calabaye last year, which is 30 kilometers from here. The camp is huge for people who don't know it. It's 37 kilometers from one end to the other. There's no buses, there's no public transportation. Everything's on a boda, on a motorcycle taxi. So it's hard, but also the generations. If you are uprooted from your home, you come here. You think you'll stay a year, 6 months, then you're here 10 years later. Suddenly you have a child, suddenly you have a grandchild. These children are still from your community and from your home, but they've never seen it. Maybe they don't even really know the language that you grew up speaking. They haven't really heard the music that you grew up hearing. Yeah. What do they hear? They hear Swahili hip-hop, if they're lucky, or they hear Afrobeats, or whatever the pop music is. If there's not a way to create a cultural practice to unite the generations, the youth will move further and further away from their parents and grandparents, and they will produce a new culture, which is great, but they will lose the old one. And in the process, they will be separated from their heritage and from their families. So Kakuma Sound helps stop that. It helps bring generations together. And the other thing you mentioned is the host community. From the very beginning, the first meeting, the host community was at the core of Kakuma Sound. We are on host community land.
Yes.
That was given to us.
That's
so this
true.
is not, this is, so we wouldn't exist without the host community.
Literally.
Literally, just literally. So it is really important. And when we went to do our big performances in Uganda and then in Europe, our main singer, Maureen, is from the host community. She's Turkana. So this, and you know, traditionally again, there's been conflict many times between refugees and host communities everywhere in the world. Because look, here's a giant camp that was taken on land. The government, Kenyan government took land from Turkana people. No one really asked them.
Yeah.
You know, yes, this is not the best farmland in the world, but it's land they'd used for thousands of years, right? Yeah. They've been here for thousands of years. So this was their land. It was taken from them. It was given to people from other places who don't speak their language, who got resources they didn't have, and so on and so forth. So of course there was a problem. Not to mention we have desertification. So there's much less land you can farm. Then you have the pastoralists among the Turkana and agriculturists who have been clashing. Now there's even less land because a giant refugee camp came. So there's a lot of reason for the local people to be angry at the refugees.
Yes.
Of course, they also made money, and Turkana people have worked. Kakuma as a town has been integrated into the camp, but still, a lot of reason to have hostility. But because we had the host as the core of the community from the beginning, that never happened, and we were able to help heal things. And now it's even more important because now we're farming. And of course, people from Congo, you know, you come from Eastern Congo, the soil is the most fertile soil in the world.
Yeah.
So much rain, it's volcanic. You literally drop a seed on the ground and a week later you have a plant. You don't have to do anything, you know? Here, as we know, nothing grows unless you really know what you're doing. And the only people who really know what they're doing are Turkana people who live here. So they have become very crucial to developing the farm. So we are blending all these traditions. We are blending the music, distinct still, but coming together to share. And we are learning from them, and they are coming to show us, and we are helping them with some resources. And again, that creates a community for the long term.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So another question, what are some of the biggest challenges Kakuma Sound has faced, and how did you tackle or overcame them?
Biggest challenge is money. And how do we overcome it? By begging.
Oh God.
As the song says, I'm not too proud to beg. We're not too proud to beg. No, you know, we have to raise money. You have to come up with an idea.
Exactly.
You have to bring it to donors who get ideas from all over the world of people who want money. So you have to bring them something that's very new, that is, but that looks, you know, these people who give money, they're pretty smart. They've been doing this a long time, a lot of the organizations, the big donors. So they know what works and doesn't, and they know if people are faking something. So we happen to just, I like to say it was like creating a hit album that you never knew you were going to record. It's like catching lightning in a bottle, you know? We just had this idea, and we knew it was going to work. Yeah. And we developed it the right way. And the reason it worked is because it wasn't me and Trainer who said, oh, let's come up with this idea. First thing we did was sit with musicians. Say, what do you want? What do you need? Yeah. What is your vision? Because I didn't have a vision. What do I know? I don't know this place very well. What is your vision as a refugee? What is your vision as a Turkana person of the future with music? And they were the ones who designed what Kakuma Sound would be, conserving the past, composing the future. That's their idea. We need to preserve the past, but we need to do new things. And so then we just had to write that up in a way that we could get it to donors. And we've been very lucky that we've been very well, I mean, comparatively maybe not compared to other organizations, but we've gotten good funding from all over the world, from UNESCO, from the Guggenheim Foundation, now from my university, the Alec Glasser Center for the Power of Music and Social Change, from Africa Express and Roskilde. A bunch of places have repeatedly, Amnesty International, given us funding to create this. And, again, it shows that we all are in this together.
Yeah.
We couldn't have done this without the donations, without the aid.
Definitely.
But they couldn't have given any aid without us. And it was the fact that there were people farsighted enough to trust a bunch of refugees who had a vision of using traditional music to create a new sense of community. And it was very well timed because as we were doing it, COVID happened. And that was a huge shock to the world.
Yes.
And then just last year, Trump happened, and and UNHCR lost its funding.
Yeah.
And a lot of its funding. And the head of UNHCR in Kakuma said, people are slowly starving in Kakuma, right? As you know, it was really bad. So that's why suddenly it became crucial to get water. We have to forget about the music. People cannot play if they're dying of thirst, if they're starving, if they're malnourished.
Yeah.
So he said, okay, we have this land. It clearly can grow. You can see trees, clearly it can grow things. So we need to now put aside, let's say, the music for a minute and focus on creating the conditions of life. And that's, of course, what music's supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we did. So that we've been very fortunate that there have been funders, donors who've understood the danger, but also understood, and this is really important, that Kakuma is the avant-garde of humanity. It's the front lines of what's happening everywhere else in the world. So they are not just, when they give us money, they're not giving charity. They are paying down their own future. Because more and more people are going to live in this kind of environment, really hot, not enough water, people from all over trying to live together, war nearby, environmental degradation. This describes half of the planet, and every year it's more of the planet. So people here have been living with this a long time, and they are figuring out how to survive. So the refugees are not objects of aid now, they are the teachers. And people understand that. People understand they're the ones who give us money to help do this. And I think that's what the refugees are now. They are the teachers for the rest of us.
Yeah. It's so beautiful when I hear you saying that refugees are being the teachers like right now. Or exactly, like you just mentioned something and it really interested me. Like you said, the investors are giving this money, not because, it's not like they're giving a charity case. They're like, they see a vision. They see something constructive is happening. Something that will really help to inspire others. And they can also benefit from it some other days. Like, it's really, and that's really powerful. And that's really going to inspire a lot of refugees outside there because that's giving them the sense of we are involved, we are trusted. Because if someone's going to give you their money, and they're not going to be there while you're making use of that money, but they'll have faith that it's going to happen because they have the capability. Refugees are going to be able. That's really inspiring for young people, also the old people. I
think that's why Kakuma Sound branches, we didn't create, right, Trainer? We didn't create any of these branches. People started calling you.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm in Uganda. We want to create, we're in Chiaka too. We're in Bidi Bidi. We're in Mahama in Rwanda. We're in Tanzania. We want to create a Kakuma Sound. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Mike, Mark, you've really connected artists from many countries, and you've really worked also with artists in Kakuma. What have you learned about unity through music?
Well, I've learned that it's not just a slogan. It's very easy to say that, The idea of Kakuma Sound, that, music can bring people together, it almost sounds corny. It sounds like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Of course music can bring people together. Sounds like something they say in church,
Yeah.
It actually is true.
Definitely.
Here we are.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're talking people coming from civil wars that have killed millions. And if you count up the number of people killed in the civil wars from Sudan
uncountable.
To millions, maybe 8 million?
Yeah.
I don't know, even more maybe. If you go from Sudan to Somalia to Ethiopia to Uganda, Congo, at least 4 to 5 million. So we're talking maybe 6-7 million minimum who have died. And the people in this camp represent all those communities who are at war with each other, or who are killed by governments, and here we are, you know? Mm-hmm. And we are all together. We're just doing a meeting. We have Oromo, we have Dinka, we have Congolese, we have, you know, Achole, all together on the board working together.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's like a mini UN, except it works. Mm-hmm. Unlike the UN, because there's no great power. There's no US or Russia or China to take over everything and start bribing people and turning them against each other. Because it's grassroots, because this is a real grassroots organization, mm-hmm. People work out their stuff before someone can ruin it and before someone can tear it apart. And one thing's for sure, there are a lot of people who would like to see Kakuma Sound collapse and fail. A lot of people, because it's working, and it's not in everyone's interest that people get along.
Yeah.
It's not in everyone's interest that we are creating music and preserving the past. It's, I don't want to say who, but clearly there are groups that don't want, like any initiative.
Yeah.
But the people here are so strong that there's no way any of these groups can even come close to harming the group, because we have hundreds, 700, 800 people all throughout the camp, community bands performing in rituals, performing with their community, training their children, learning from their elders, really integrating this whole thing. And that makes it untouchable.
What advice would you give an artist in Kakuma who are dreaming of taking their music to the global stages?
How we doing, Trey?
Yeah.
We have, yeah. Okay. Well, we were just having this discussion in the studio yesterday, actually. One of the members of Kakuma Sound is also a rapper, Deng. He was playing some of his song, which I really like, which we're working on together now. And, what we're realizing is, well, it's a hip-hop song, but here we are recording it here, literally in the middle of Kakuma Sound compound. Mm-hmm. We need Kakuma Sound. We need the sound of Kakuma in it. So we're going to add in some drum, percussion, and some, maybe a dungu or a little kalimba, the thumb piano, or the Dinka shaker, leg shakers, And so what I think is, if you're operating within a commercial music like trap or amapiano, Afrobeat style that's very popular now, what are you going to do to sound unique? Because if you don't sound unique, it's very hard to get noticed.
Yeah.
If you sound and look like everyone else, then your chances are very slim unless you get very lucky or someone sponsored you as the position. But if you can add something at the core of the music that's unique, then you stand out. Maybe no one likes it because it's unique, because people are trained to like the same. But usually new music, when it's good, if it has real soul, will pierce through. Yeah. So my advice is, don't run away from the traditions. Don't run away from the traditional instruments. Yeah. Don't assume that you have to just record beats that sound like trap or sound like Afro beats. The one, dembo, clave beat that every Afrobeat song has, and that has taken over Africa. Even though Africa has 10,000 rhythms, it's one rhythm on 95% of the songs. Yeah. Well, even in this camp, we have people from 24 countries. Yeah. Each one has different communities. Each community has 20 rhythms. What are we talking about? Probably 10,000 rhythms in this camp.
Yes.
So use them, because those rhythms have been around for a long time, and that means they work. And mix them with your music. Change up the beat. Create a different atmosphere, So that's what we're trying to do here with the musicians.
Oh, wow. That's brilliant. You've heard from me. And if you're an artist, just take a piece of the advice, and I really believe that you're going to get far. You're going to get to the stages that you are looking forward to, your dream stages. You're going to go there, definitely. And the next question is going to be more personal question to you, and it goes: how or where do you see Kakuma Sound in the next 5 years, Mark?
I see a water tower. We have our big 5,000 liter tank. Finally, I see a lot more crops. I see being able to walk in here and pick some basil and some garlic and onions and tomatoes and make a nice sauce to make a pasta. That's our one joke, that we'll be able to open an Italian restaurant in Kakuma with all the crops. No, what I really want to see is, I want to see us on the road again. I want to see us back in Europe. I want to see us in South Africa. I want to see us in Egypt. I want to see us in Morocco, in Nigeria. You know, we want to travel, and we were doing that, and we were just starting, and then with all the cuts and the funding and the wars, that changed. We had to focus on sustenance and survival. But we're starting to get close to being able to say, okay, we have that now.
Yeah.
Now we can really think about going back out in the world. And of course, that's part of the life process, right? You think you're going to do one thing and something happens and you have to do something else.
Definitely.
Happened with COVID already once in the beginning of the decade. Halfway through the decade, we had the end of U.S. aid and increased in wars and refugees coming. So now I think we need to get back out.
Yeah.
We want to get on the road. We want to take it global. We want to play in festivals all over the world. That way we can share the stories of Kakuma Sound with the world. We have Petna and Daliko, our dear friend and partner from Yole, Africa, in Goma, who was a mentor, without whom we wouldn't have the farm, and who has been teaching us, and whose own organization, Yole, is a model for us, because they were doing it literally. We were doing it with refugees. He was doing it in the war zone. So he was like even more in the middle of it, and created this amazing place. So we see the possibility of doing this, and we wanna keep going, you know, and get out, get to Goma, get back to Uganda, get to Malawi, just get everywhere and get out, you know, get to the world.
Yeah.
And using this Kakuma Sound as a model for different refugee camps in the world.
Yeah. No, that's the other thing. Thank you, Trey. That's the other thing. We got a big grant just recently, UNESCO Ashburg grant. And what UNESCO is realizing, and they've been very generous to fund us from the very beginning, is that we have now a model for refugee camps all over the world. Yeah. That the model of using music and now also farming to bring people together through traditional cultures, and as important, bring together different UN agencies like UNESCO, UNHCR, World Food Program, UNDP. If we give them new ways to work together on common goals, this is to everyone's advantage. Yeah. So hopefully, not only can the band play everywhere, but Kakuma Sound as a way of creating community can spread to other places in Africa and all over.
That's really good. And from all I'm seeing, I feel like that dream it's not just going to be like 5 years, but again, never know, maybe in 3 years' time, you know, because you guys are really moving. You guys are really doing it, like exactly what you guys is required, what is required of you to be done. It's being done. The farmers, water is here, like see the flowers, the trees. Like,
butterflies.
Yeah, from exactly what you say earlier when we started the conversation, you stated that a year ago when you came here, it was really formation of small trees, and then again now there's a shade here. So just imagine the gradual, gradual growth. Then again in 3 years, I feel like exactly like you say, seeing Kakuma Sound all over the world and being the face of the refugees. I feel like it's going exactly to come exactly like you stated. And in addition to the question that you've just answered, where do you see? How can people around the world support Kakuma Sound? Maybe to push Kakuma Sound to the vision you guys want it to be. How can the people around the world help to push Kakuma Sound to its potential?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously we need money.
Yes.
You know, nothing happens without money. Yeah. We don't need a lot of money compared to other things, but we need support. You know, we have not focused on individual donations because it's very time consuming, but at some point we will go back to trying, through GoFundMe. People can go to our website, kakuma-sound.org, and they can learn more about us. They can contact us. They can also, if you're in a community or a country that has resources, you can talk to your own foreign ministries and other places. Say, hey, you should, because Kakuma refugee camps get a lot of donations.
Yeah.
A lot of countries in Kakuma, we have Japan, Norwegians, Danish, Swedish. We used to have Americans, French. People from all over have offices here to help bring money here.
Yeah.
But the more support we get from people in these countries, the more the governments will want to support Kakuma Sound. Going on tour there, we get invitations to festivals. That's a really big thing. The only way we can travel is if we get invited.
Yeah.
And we really did incredibly well at Roskilde. It was the beginning of what should have been many, many tours, but again, things happen and we had to focus on home. But that's really important for us because, it's one thing if someone watches this interview online and gets excited and learns about it. It's another thing if they see us in their country doing a performance, because the musicians are really amazing. And together, it's a really powerful group, really top-notch group. So the more we can get out, the more and through the music, the refugees tell their stories. And then people in these communities all over the world understand more. Oh, okay, refugees are not just objects of pity or aid. They are teachers.
Yeah.
They are the people who can help us confront the future.
Yeah.
Right. So it's much easier to understand that when we are there.
Yeah.
So I guess the single best thing for us is to get invitations to perform. That's what we need. But also, obviously, we need donations. We need more money to help take care of all the things, the needs, because the needs are huge. It's 300,000 people in this camp. And even though our community is not slowly starving now because we have resources, we have water, we have some food we can make ourselves, most of the rest of the camp doesn't have that. So we need to reach out to the rest of the camp. So we need to expand so we can help them train and produce more of their own food and just slowly help the camp become more self-sufficient and be more filled with the music that can create greater unity. And with unity comes agency.
Yes.
The refugees have the agency to determine their own future and not just be governed by someone else, whether it's UNHCR or the Kenyan government, who might have the best intentions, but they can't see the world the way the refugees do. And in the end, they have their own interests, which are not always the same as the refugees.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful. As we are nearing to the end of our discussion, I would really like to ask a question that's going to be so personal. You're going to give your own personal view. Mark, if you were to send one message to the world about Kakuma and its people, what would the message be?
I think my message would be, if you are feeling despair, which I know I do most days, at the state of the world, if you come to Kakuma, or if you explore what people here have lived through and what they are able to accomplish with so little, you should be inspired to realize that there is still hope. I think that's the big thing. Kakuma, not just Kakuma Sound, but the camp, the way the camp survives, the way people survive here under conditions that are so challenging, should give the rest of us hope. And that's really the message, that there is hope. And the people who live here are the reality, are the evidence that there is hope, that the world's not going to end, that as difficult as things are becoming with climate change and everything, there are ways to change your situation, to improve your situation, and to get and to create community that can withstand all of the challenges and even the violence that comes against us. And that's I think the biggest gift of Kakuma to the world, more than the music even, is the hope.
Wow. That's very powerful. There is indeed hope, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is hope. It was my pleasure, guys, to have
My
this
pleasure to
beautiful
be with
session
you.
with Mark Levine, and we'll be having another beautiful sessions more with Mark some other time when he visits, and with other people of Kakuma and also members at Kakuma Sound. It's our pleasure, and we're like really happy to see that there is people that want change and are bringing change. It's happening. And again, thank you again for being part of this podcast. It's your
Asante
host,
sana.
Yamal. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kwaheri.
Takutana.